Welcome back, minors. My name is Tracy Kriegel, and I'm a counselor here at Student Wellbeing.
And I'm Amber Johnston, and I'm also a counselor here at Student Wellbeing. And it's time for your morning cup of joe. So, Tracy, have you ever been in an awkward situation and you just didn't know what to say when you met somebody that you'd never met before?
Oh boy, have I ever. I remember my freshman year, I believe it was my freshman year, and I was in my political science class. That was my sophomore year in college. And I was in my political science class. Completely felt like an outsider.
Uh-huh.
And I was observing some people chatting in the classroom, and I just completely felt isolated. I had no idea what to say. I didn't know how to start a conversation. I didn't know anybody in the classroom, and the professor called my name. And when he did, he had no idea how to pronounce my last name. So it was like a complete botch up. And everyone laughed. They were laughing. And so it made me even feel more isolated and alone.
Right.
And I just felt completely overwhelmed. You know, I was at Missouri State in Springfield. So yeah, I just felt awful.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So that's what our podcast really is today is about the idea of breaking that silence and being able to kind of talk to people. And for our listeners today, I want you to kind of ask yourself this question. How many times have you been the one to sit in a room or to try to meet new people and just had no idea how to even start the conversation? Do you struggle with finding words? Do you struggle with feeling nervous? Do you feel left out and alone because you don't know how to talk to other people? Do you feel like sometimes like what you have to say isn't important or that nobody's going to care what you have to say? So let's dive in and dispel some of those myths about and those negative thinking patterns.
So Amber, I think that's a fitting place to start a conversation today is talking about where they lack that confidence and where that originates from.
Right. I can agree more, Tracy. It's about finding the root of what can help us build that roadmap of building up our social confidence. Like how do we get from here? So we want to help people kind of bring themselves up, and so that they can open themselves up to a place where they can start a conversation or feel comfortable in putting themselves out there like that.
Right. This is definitely something that we talk about frequently in counseling sessions, but I think a good place to start today is let's look inward and do some self-reflection and journaling. So I'd like to encourage our listeners to try this at home. So take some time at home and see what are your results. So for 1 week, I want you to write down your negative thoughts and the things that keep popping into your head. And see what your results are, and see what happens. See what you keep saying to yourself. See what conversations you're having with yourself. You know, what things you would like to say to your peers. You know, and for each of those thoughts, ask yourself, who and what did you say?
Uh-huh.
You know, what would you have said? And decide if what you thought. What was keeping you from saying those things?
Right.
What power and control is like over your like ability to just like sit down next to somebody and say, "Hi, my name's Tracy," or "Hi, my name's Fred,"
Right.
"Hi, my name's John," "My name's Larry." You know, what's keeping you from doing that?
Well, it's those automatic thoughts like we've talked about before, and it's that like we've talked about the theme song that we get stuck in our head, get that playing song, and then so we get those automatic thoughts. So we're kind of, your journal here is keeping track of what those automatic thoughts are. So you're looking for those always, those nevers, those general overgeneralizations. Nobody's going to like you. Really? Is nobody going to like me? Or am I being overgeneralizing? I'm sure that there are people that out there that actually do like me. So kind of pulling that back and saying, okay, so it's not nobody. It's, I kind of reframe that. I'm afraid that I won't be able to find people that like me.
Right, exactly. And I think it's important for us to recognize when we're writing those thoughts down, what emotions are following that? Are you getting hands sweating? Is your heart racing? Are you feeling sick to your stomach? Are you getting a headache? Because sometimes people just feel nauseated.
Right.
Those are sometimes that physical reaction, but also it's just those intense feelings. That if you're having those, situations happening to where you're getting such an intense emotional reaction, we're here at Student Wellbeing, and we have a social confidence group. We have counselors here that can help you work through some of those anxious moments, to where if you're not able to have good conversation starters, or you're feeling so overwhelmed that you just can't make that conversation starter, you're feeling socially overwhelmed, now's the time, because you're here, you're on campus, whether you're hearing this podcast at the beginning of the semester, middle of the semester, end of the semester, wherever you are listening to this podcast, or if you're living in the community and you're just having problems engaging with people in general, there are places around you where you can go and you can talk to people, and that don't let yourself be held back by not being able to chat with others. So I think this is a good point where, it's important to feel socially confident. Not everybody's just going to be like the social butterfly.
No,
because, some people are extroverts, some people are introverts.
Well, and we need all kinds of people. Not being
Absolutely.
a social butterfly is not a bad thing.
No.
There's this almost idea that being extroverted is like the default.
Yeah.
And it absolutely 100% is not.
Yeah.
The world needs extroverts, but the world needs introverts.
Absolutely.
Like 100%. Introverts have so many wonderful qualities about them.
Absolutely.
But if we feel like our introversion is holding us back from communicating with others, then it can be a real barrier in our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important for you to ask yourself the question of knowing, when will you be satisfied with your level of social confidence? And what does that look like to you?
Yeah.
Do you need to feel comfortable being able to introduce yourself to your peers? Do you want to be able to feel comfortable engaging in group sessions, like when you're working in class or meeting with groups to study? Do you want to be able to attend design teams? Do you want to be able to give your input and feel comfortable, or is anxiety holding you back? What do you want to do for yourself? And that's the key. What does this look like to you individually? And that's that key. This is going to be different for each person, and that's going to be defined by your own personal measure of confidence.
Right. And it's important that people go back, recognize that we frequently think that we should be something, and that it should is a measurement tool. Whoever decided that you should be this or that you should be that, we all have to kind of take a step back and ask ourselves the question, where is that should coming from? If I think I should be able to go in this room and talk to people, where is that idea coming from? And is this something I even really want? And if it is, then we can absolutely work towards it. But if it's not something that is important to you or that you value, then it's not going to be, you're not going to be invested in it. It's not something you want.
Right, exactly. Maybe that ideal came from, someone in your community, a parent, a grandparent, a friend, family member. That ideal is set by you. And so know that. Amber says something, be you, do you. I love that motto because it's so important. You have to be you and do you. Another tip I think that I would add is starting small. We all want to learn to have social confidence, but making big changes all at once is completely overwhelming. And if you're a first-year student, you just come out of high school, and, if you were homeschooled and you're coming to campus, or if you're coming from a small school, a small rural community, this is a big campus, and this is a whole different ballgame for you. Or if you've come from a big school, maybe this is a whole different, setting for you. I think it's important that working on self-improvement is starting small. Practice. Ask a close friend or family member to help you role play. And if you don't have someone, near you to start. This is what I love to do. Start in the bathroom mirror. And people always laugh at me when I tell them this, but stand in the bathroom mirror, you're seeing your personal reflection, but talk to yourself in the mirror and have a conversation. If you can see yourself in that bathroom mirror, ask yourself a question. Hey, how are you? Reflect on what you're asking that person in the mirror, because it's you. Be able to listen to yourself, validate what you want to say to that other person. Ask questions. In the link, we're going to put in the comment section 250 conversation starters for any social situation. Sit down with the person. Hey, my name's so-and-so. I'm from such and such place. Where are you from? What's your major? I was wondering if you would be interested in joining our study group. Or would you be interested in getting together for coffee later? Or, would you like to go down to Einstein's and sit and chat? Or, just different things depending on what your interest is talking to them.
You can also, there's this new, if you're a fan of like ChatGPT and using it, there's apps, I know one of them is like Character AI. And if you're feeling a little bit nervous about having a conversation with somebody in real life or online, maybe having a conversation with a character from your favorite TV show might help you kind of learn that back and forth of having regular discourse.
Amber, have you ever seen the show Ted Lasso?
No, I have not.
Oh my gosh, if you haven't seen Ted Lasso, you've got to check it out. So for all you listeners out there, Ted Lasso is phenomenal. He is like the most optimistic coach that you'll ever meet. Of course, he was from Alabama. He was this like all-time winner, football coach, went over to the UK to be a soccer coach, and he just is so optimistic and like could just lead a team. And so if you're into athletics, it's phenomenal. So, but he could just teach, and he inspired people through team groups and just taught people, just inspired them. So the AI chat has Ted Lasso, his character. And so just if you're really just wanting to engage and talk with somebody, just kind of just step outside that box. I mentioned that, those 250 conversation starters, just reach out there and just have that fun conversation, with someone he's so optimistic. There's always this positive piece behind it. There's like nothing, I know there's some, in the show, there's difficulties he goes through in life, and on, Ted Lasso, there's difficult pieces because the team doesn't win, but he brings them and inspires them to win. He inspires them through all their own difficulties to overcome adversity. Right. Which is phenomenal. I mean, it's so great. So
it's kind of like a rehearsal. Like, I mean, it's not going to be the same as like an in-person interaction, but, and of course it's AI. It's not perfect, but it's rehearsal. You can try out those conversation starters and kind of get an idea of how they look and try different characters. They have all kinds of, they have Ted Lasso. They have like, you name it. I had a conversation, I was playing around with it, and I had a conversation with Dean Winchester about pie.
Absolutely.
And I had a conversation with Lorelai Gilmore about, like, I don't remember, like, it was kind of traveling conversation about just randomness. Like, it's just playing around with it, kind of get the feeling. It's kind of fun, and it's rehearsing those normal back and forths of conversation to make you maybe hopefully feel a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, because, I think it's hard, especially when you're new to starting conversations with people, knowing exactly what to say. I hear that from people. They sit down, you have that, hi, my name's so-and-so, my name's so-and-so, and then it's just dead space.
Right. And this is that might be a good way, if that's a way that you're comfortable, to learn that, how to build those, what do I say next kind of things.
There's not somebody sitting there looking at you face to face going, what's happening next? Because it's kind of like that texting world. There's somebody over there, but it's, a computer. And just like you're in gaming world or texting, it helps you build those conversational skills. It's breaking that silence. It's helping you learn those things. And so, when our mind runs in circles day after day, trying to just put the pieces together, we're not going to have the perfect day when it comes to starting conversations.
No. And we don't want to say, I'm not good at this. We can say, I'm not good at it yet. Like,
Right.
I'm not good with having conversations with other people yet. Maybe I need to get a skill in how to make a conversation flow. Maybe I need to do this. But it's having that growth mindset, that idea that this is a skill that I can gain.
Yeah.
And some days we're going to fail, and that's okay. We live in a culture sometimes that's a little bit like failure is the end, but it really isn't. Sometimes we learn the most from our failures, a lot more than what we learn from our successes.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe today you don't speak up. Maybe today you're sitting in the back of the class and you don't feel comfortable talking, but you're new at this. This is something that's new, it's different, and you remember that you're just starting out, you're starting small, and you want to find that social confidence. You want to develop it, nurture it, help it grow.
Right, exactly. Your self-confidence doesn't have to depend on a setback.
Mm-mm.
So remember, the first thing we talked about was our thoughts, what your thoughts are saying to us. Well, here's where the pavement hits the road. For many people, they were taught self-confidence comes through achieving success. Well, I, for one, challenge that statement. Self-confidence doesn't come from achieving success. It comes from what you believe. And I think rather that's from external value.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice when we do something great, as it makes us feel good. But ultimately, we have the power to retain our own self-confidence. And so, in other words, you are the key.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more, Tracy. Like we got to stand up to our inner critic. What's that little voice that in our head that talks to us and says nasty things? And I'm going to tell you right now, that voice is a whole lot nastier to you than anyone would ever be to anybody else. Like, you would never talk to another human being the way that you talk to yourself in your head.
No.
And so we hear ourselves saying those bad things about our, and we flash back and hear, like, we might also be hearing things that maybe somebody said to us that was negative in the past, and it gets amplified by that inner critic. And maybe that other person didn't mean to hurt our feelings, but then they did, and that one sentence is replayed for the next 20 years. We have to have that ability to say, I'm not defined by my past. I'm not defined by my mistakes. We are not, and I'm going to repeat this, we are not defined by our worst moments.
Right.
We are defined by our best.
Right, exactly. And I think we have to grab hold of that. We have to change our thoughts, challenge our thoughts, and we have to look at how do we move forward and unlock that new level of confidence like we've been talking about.
Right.
Be the new you, rewrite the narrative in our head.
Mm-hmm.
That's so important, because how many times have we said to ourselves, we're not worth it, I'm unworthy? But we have to challenge ourselves. Everybody who's listening to this podcast, you are worthy. You are worth it. If you've been that person who's sitting there and you just say, they don't want to talk to me. Why would they talk to me?
Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't they?
Why wouldn't they say that to yourself? Why wouldn't they talk to me?
You're an awesome person. Like, why wouldn't they want to talk to you?
Exactly. When I've been, today when we're recording this podcast is actually a week. And so I've been walking around campus and I've been watching students. And it's just, I love seeing new students coming to this campus. It just, makes me happy. And I see students who are just, I can see they're, excited to be here.
Yeah.
And so I'm that person who I'm like, hey, how you doing? How's things going? You need anything? Good morning. So I'm like that person who walks around I take pleasure and I take joy in putting a smile on people's faces. And so, but I know that might not be your character. You might be that person who's like, oh my gosh, this person's coming to talk to me.
Don't notice me.
Don't notice me.
Yeah.
But you know what? You are worth it. I love it at that middle of the semester or near finals. There's people standing over by the library who are shouting, we're proud of you. You got this.
That's so awesome.
I love to hear the staff when they do that. So talk back to your inner critic. Take the power away from your old way of thinking, and find the new inner thinking process and unleash the socially confident giant that's within you. I think that's important. So the last tip I want to share with you today is be compassionate with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Learn to turn away from negative, demanding self-talk and towards your kinder, gentle way to talk to yourself. If we constantly beat ourselves up over past mistakes, missed opportunities, and failures, our confidence level will remain low, and we just won't allow ourselves to let go of those moments and grow. We have to allow ourselves to trust ourselves and grow. I think that's so important.
Absolutely. I want to kind of reiterate, though, if you still find yourself struggling, and we have licensed counselors here up in Student Wellbeing, and we have a social confidence group that runs each semester. And if you're listening to this podcast off campus, we encourage you to reach out for support of mental health professionals in the community. Struggling with social confidence can lead to feelings of social anxiety, depression, and it can cause some pretty serious mental health consequences when it's left untreated.
Absolutely. So Miners, thanks for tuning in today. We hope this podcast will encourage those struggling with social confidence. Set yourself up for success today. Say hi to a new person, smile at a stranger, make eye contact with your professor when they call your name. And that seems pretty threatening, but they will make eye contact back with you. Talk to the cashier at Havener. Mix it up. Mm-hmm. You're in charge of your narrative today. So write your story. Have a great day, Miners.
Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.
For more information about mental health and wellness, contact Student Wellbeing at 204 Norwood Hall. And you can also give us a call at 573-341-4211.
The song Happy Days is brought to us by music from www.free-stock-music.com. You can also add and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook using our handle @S&T Wellbeing.